Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and we are in the book that bangs the hardest, the most consistently, and will drop so many wisdom bombs on your asses that your great-grandchildren will have post-traumatic stress disorder. We have fun here. We're at the part of the book where Socrates is introducing a new category of man. One that even Socrates and Jesus would be a follower of. So up until now, we've been delineating between two kinds of people in principle. Those categorized by the cognitive function of belief, which is the root cause of all human problems and suffering, individually and projected onto the collective, with the two professions that do not demand understanding and yet have a vast influence over our race. Religion, no understanding needed, just belief, which is the cause of problems, and politics, no understanding needed, just manipulating the beliefs of people so you can play out your own false beliefs. So that's why we're at this, we are at the period of history where we are, which is ruled by a lot of injustice. So that's belief, and you can categorize that with many different analogies. In the book, we're using the Judaic people. We're using the to contrast against the other way of being, understanding, the Hellenic and the Judaic. The children of Abraham, or the Hellenic people, I guess we're saying. But also Socrates and Jesus. Socrates personifies understanding and the art of understanding, which is called the dialectic. And Jesus is a big figure in our culture that personifies belief. Even though he himself talked about the need for understanding, solving puzzles through analogies that he calls parables, not the masses, just his inner circle apparently, and experiencing the kingdom of heaven as a state of mind. Paul, however, came along and appointed himself above Jesus and lied about everything, and that's modern Christianity, rejecting understanding for belief. So, as a character in the book, he personifies belief. So, belief and understanding, which tradition are we in? Well, apparently there's a new class of man coming to birth. One that even Jesus and Socrates would, as I said, be a follower of. And I've said that already.
She's like a cold-hearted cunt.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was a bit intense.
It's a total shit show.
It's a total shit show already on the stream. Can you believe it?
No.
I don't know. A new class of man that will doom all others. Pretty dramatic language, but we could say makes all other states of being or kinds of human beings redundant, because it would be the best. So that's exciting. What is this new class of man that's ready to emerge in humanity? And necessarily so because we have seen how we reacted to understanding as a way of being. We murdered Socrates for the ignorant belief of politicians and religious authorities in Socrates' day. And that had a catastrophic effect on our race. Instead of listening to Socrates, we lost the art of solving problems, which is the activity of understanding we're here to develop as human beings, because you can only learn it through time, and it's the highest functioning that we can engage in as human beings, understanding, using our reason properly. We lost that dialectic applied to the root cause of human problems. That's called philosophical midwifery. But you can't really complete philosophical midwifery without guidance and help and clues from your dream master. So philosophical midwifery has to go hand in hand with dream analysis. But because Socrates' student was only 20 when we murdered him, again, a counter attack, because belief isn't neutral, it's in opposition to understanding as by definition. As a counterattack to understanding, we murdered Socrates, lost the ability to solve problems, and that has led to the tradition we're in now, which is materialism, which is even lower than belief. Behold a man. That's me.
Here we go.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
Oh boy, that is a little weird.
It's a little weird, but also...
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
I am crossing into new boundaries. I am the brave one. See? It says so on my wacky soundboard. It's wacky.
Brain rot escalates.
See? So, materialism, which is rejects understanding, rejects the model of mind, rejects universal principles. We love a good brain rot here. 6-7. Oh, someone's saying 6-7.
Do a poggers.
Do a poggers about that. That's cool, apparently. And if you don't agree, we say to you...
Like literally, suck my dick.
Oh my goodness. We've got some new really spicy drops now on the channel. Materialism, rejecting the realm of mind, the model of mind, universal principles that are true for everyone, that benefits everyone. Well, okay then. And therefore rejects understanding, because understanding is the activity of mind. So that's where we are now. Materialism from Aristotle, a student of Plato's who had a problem and wasn't able to be solved because, as I said, we lost the dialectic applied to solving problems, midwifery and dream analysis, when we murdered Socrates. To be a loyal Nazi foot soldier to belief, which is stupid, but that's where we are as a evolving race. Blind, stupid loyalty to our beliefs from upbringing, our caveman-like tribe, might have served an evolutionary purpose before we had the ability to reflect, ousia, self-reflection, with language, logos. But now, of course, it doesn't help anything. It actually is going to bring about the end of our race. So if we want to save our race, we have to move into the next stage of evolution from belief into understanding. We even got a map for that. How cool is this book? We have a map for a Venn diagram that takes the primary duads of understanding, of perception, of creation, the Lego pieces for reality, whole, part, same, different. Everything you see is a whole and a part. Everything that you think, everything that you see or think or experience is the same as something different. So a lesser and greater pair. The lesser that isn't touched by the greater, we can represent as the physical world of appearances. You never see wholes, you infer wholes with your mind. So mind is the middle term where mind can bring the pieces together into a whole. So each level has a model, which we could call an essence or an all-out oneness, ousia, self-contained model, and an activity. So the model of based on physical appearances is belief. You believe blindly someone who appeared to be smart or knowing. That's belief. It's the model, and the activity, materialism. Because materialism is a way of thinking that has an unsuspected false belief that has to reject what's most important: mind, beauty, consciousness, reality, enlightenment, self. So it rejects the most significant and reduces everything to the least significant material things, physical things. That's why it's called materialism. Also called reductionism, because it reduces everything to garbage. So you could say that's the establishment left, materialism, reductionism, and the establishment right in politics and religion is belief. Both of which have to be in opposition to the whole, because otherwise there would be no section of of reality that is a part, because you would just want to be the whole. But we have to move from belief in materialism into understanding, which is the art of dialectic, personified by Socrates, taught to him by Parmenides, his teacher. And the activity of the dialectic is to revert on the model. The model of mind is ousia. Mind turning around and knowing itself all at once. So it's infinity experienced as a oneness. It's by definition the greatest possible experience. So all of these duads that explain reality, whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, out of time, in time, rest and motion, it's the greatest of each of them. It's the greatest positives, the greatest superlatives together. The greatest whole of all of the parts. Completely the same, but incorporating everything different. Out of time, but the model of all time all at once. That's the first or the second last of the two categories of enlightenment experiences. So what's fascinating about that is, while ousia is the model of mind knowing itself that we want to awaken through the use of understanding, making understanding a yoga or a spiritual method, the archetype. The activity of understanding is therefore reflecting on the model that it is derived from. In other words, understanding uses these ideas, whole and part, structured through time, via a series of questions in conversation. For instance, in this book, Jesus and Socrates meet up in heaven, and Socrates says to Jesus, hey, let's have a chat about our life's work. But first of all, we need to account for the whole of our teachings. Whoever speaks for us better be able to account for the whole of our teachings, but also be able to recognize the different parts. Then we need to talk about how we are the same, Jesus, you and I. We're both the same in that we both left others to write about our teachings, which was a disaster because we had both experienced that model of pure mind to various different degrees. Our responses to it were very different. Jesus' response in the Gospel of Mark is to reject understanding that he had been developing to reach that and jump into his the beliefs from childhood that he hadn't reflected on. He hadn't gone through a process of midwifery on his beliefs. Socrates instead reflected on the light of being experienced through understanding, which is what you're supposed to do. So that's how we're the same. We both left it for other people to write for us, but we're both different in that we had different responses to our brilliant light of being or ousia experience. So that's understanding, where these building blocks of understanding exist all at once in mind knowing itself. So in other words, whole doesn't live in the clouds in a filing cabinet. Beauty doesn't live in a filing cabinet. So all of the adjectives that we see in our physical world, beauty, excellence, whole, part, the nouns or the substantives are all aspects of this pure model. Therefore, the activity we're here to do is use our understanding, use that thinking brain.
4 trillion people are still going to listen to this.
And 4 trillion people will listen to this.
So like, not only have you been wrong on like 3 or 4 different things at once, which is already offensive enough, but you did it in the most annoying way.
That's not true.
Absolutely gooped.
That was a goop. I pressed a goop button. So we use our thinking stuff to revert on the source of thinking and the model of thinking. So even our activity is a kind of self-reversion or ousia. So the model is an all-at-once ousia, and an activity ousia is our activity. Isn't that neat? So we've been representing this with Socrates or the Hellenic tradition, and this with Jesus. Our ignorance or our imitation of those higher activities and model, that higher activity and model, but actually in opposition to it. Ain't no believer going to talk about the benefiting of the whole. Ain't no politician on the right wing, or ain't no religion saying we all should inherit the earth. No, it's just my religion. And we're going to genocide or kill or enslave the other groups. So it's all in opposition to the whole. And of course, opposition to understanding and a degradation of the self, or a vilification of the self. You have problems because you're evil and you're a sinner. Bullshit. You have problems because everyone develops beliefs from childhood necessarily. So we're here to learn and make mistakes and then reflect on those mistakes. That's understanding. That's learning. Therefore, punishment cannot exist in a rational society. So what? Well, hang on a second. We're missing a part of this model. The part that's the greater of the pair, whole, same, unlimited, out of time, that isn't touched by the lesser. For there to be existence, there has to be wholes and parts, and same and difference, and like and unlike. But therefore, because they're two different ideas, the lesser can't overlap with the greater, otherwise the lesser would be as great as the greater. So there has to be, for reality to exist, a section that isn't touched by the lesser of the pairs of Lego pieces of reality. And understanding and thinking. But it too should have a model and an activity. That's analogy, because there's a principle of reality. Relations stay the same, but terms may vary. In other words, the relations that we see in our physical world through belief in materialism, model and activity, are the same, but terms vary. While these terms are the false, these terms are truth in mind. But also there's one more category, true. So while this is a manyness down the bottom with belief and materialism, human ignorance, there is so many in one are two pairs, so many in one. This is a manyness, all division, many different people, many different problems, many different souls, many different experiences, many different frames of time. There is a oneness that brings them together into a unity, a oneness. And that model, as we've been talking about, to revert upon the model brings about the perfection or excellence of the activity. The greater you revert on the model of skateboarding, the better you are as a skateboarder. That kind of thing. Fill in your own analogies. So it brings about your goodness. So if this is a oneness of all parts, a goodness, described with the superlatives of both, the highest descriptors, positive adjectives of both, that means that this one is the one, or the good. Another duad is the most primary duad. The thing that you distinguish before all other things is self and other. Have to. That's not me, that is me. I'm hungry, I'm not going to feed that person, I'm going to feed this person because that's the self, that's other than me. Most primary, most immediate. So you could say one and many, or self and other. But also this is out of time in a way that transcends in time. Timeness, or physical time, moments, can't touch it. You can touch eternity. That's this here. That's why it's the greatest experience. But this has to therefore be beyond experience because it doesn't have qualities. Why? Because it's one. It had qualities and it had something to experience. And an experiencer. So this is what we're wondering about in this higher activity. How in the heck can you know yourself without being separate from yourself? Usually, even in this experience, there's something experiencing the experience. There is mind minding mind. It's all the same thing, but there's an activity, an object, and a viewer, a viewed, and a viewing. Mind minding mind. But that's three things. How can you know the model without three things? This kind of activity is a reflection on this model, the self that has no other, the self, the one that has no manyness, the whole that has no parts. But not because it's less than them or it rejects them. It's not a nihilism to say it has no qualities. It transcends qualities, and it's the cause of all qualities. So if it's the cause of all qualities, even the eternal wisdom of this model, wisdom is the name given to this level, while this level is ignorance. If you have the model, that's called nous in the Greek. We call it knowing with a capital K. The activity is dianoia. Philodianoia is this new activity we're learning here. Understanding with a capital U, because it's not understanding anything physical. It's understanding the model, understanding mind. That's understanding with a capital U. Those two together is wisdom. Hooray.
Okay, go ahead, man. All checks out.
All checks out. So if this is ignorance, this is wisdom, what in the heck is this? And how do you have this as a model? But see all these wacky questions we have about what's the most meaningful thing, you, yourself, the most primary thing. But not only that, the cause of everything else in experience is this circle. The greatest experience, sure, has a cause. Mind has a cause, and even every single physical experience has a cause, making it the highest principle or idea of God. So here we are doing an activity using thinking, reason, reflection, using the logos, but also we're self-reflecting, so it's also ousia, so the activity of ousia and logos, to figure out what in the heck is the model of self, or the one, or the good. Activity, yes. Logo, self-reflection, woo. Yeah. We're really unifying what the heck we're doing. We've been, 90 episodes in, and we've given birth to a fantastic question. Sorry, I'm sick, so brain is mashed potatoes. No, these are good. You're supposed to. This is the thing. Part of the learning process is being puzzled, being okay with mashed potato brain. Socrates says, I'm in that mashed potato state all the time. Society says it's a bad thing. You have to be a knower and act like you know shit. Bollocks. That's belief. The stupidest people act like they've got it all figured out. That's the M. Night Shyamalan twist of who should rule our society. The people who don't want to because they think they don't know. That's the people who need to rule, because they're in a state of openness and confusion and wonder, which is the exact perfect state to be in to let the logos unfold. A question, to carry a question and not let it go, is to be on a quest. Socrates didn't say mashed potato. He said, imagine you're in the middle of the ocean and a stingray stings you and you can't move or think or talk. It stings your mouth too, so you're like, blah, 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 I can't say anything. That's what I'm in all the time, says Socrates. So it's developing a question about the model of mind, or even better, the model of self that is our quest to give birth to this kind of question and hold on to it. So what we are doing is a use of language and reason, logos, to self-reflect ousia on the model or the nature of self. So the activity, the recursive activity in this realm, just as understanding is supposed to revert on the model of knowing, and just as materialism or reductionism or anything that rejects those two higher activities is reverting on their ignorant false beliefs from childhood that they've never examined. Why? Because everyone gets a false belief. It's part of why we're here. If we didn't have a false belief in opposition to this, we wouldn't have left this between our reincarnations. And if we didn't have a false belief about ourselves, we wouldn't have a need to reincarnate, gain a false image of ourselves through belief, play out the problems, but also giving us the exact perfect conditions to awaken our love of understanding and perfect the art of dialectic to solve our problems and purify a false image of self. In other words, we have a false image of reality or mind, this model, and a false image and belief about self. We're doing a fake metaphysics at all times, meaning we are reverting on a model, even the most ignorant. The only problem is it's always wrong if it's belief. And that's the cause of every single human problem. So what? Well, so if we have been using Jesus and belief as a personification of ignorance here, the false model that we put together to survive our upbringing about ourself and the role that we have within the family clan and the nature of reality, and reality being bad and you being a small bean or a bad noodle. Spam.
Who's an AI guy?
There's an AI guy in my chat.
Further fill the internet with spam and AI slop. The internet is all robots.
It's all robots. And to you, spammer, we say...
moron, you absolute fucking buffoon, you goddamn idiot.
That's to you.
Further fill the internet with spam and AI slop.
Like literally suck my dick. Did you just blow in from Stupid Town?
Did you just blow in from Stupid Town, spam?
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
Exist everywhere, and it's you, because
The internet is all robots.
the internet is all robots. So that's the spam. Spam for today. So, Jesus personifying this, and the story of Jesus in Mark, the tragic, or even worse, because the Greek tragedy, you wake up and realize it was your way of being that caused your tragic demise in a Greek tragedy. So a pathetic tale, because Jesus doesn't have that revelation, he blames God. So the tragic implications, or pathetic or tragic implications of belief and ignorance, Jesus, with the unsuspected root analogy of Abraham. So this isn't just Jesus, of course. It's the big three. In anime, they talk about the big three anime, but that's not necessary.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Unbelievable these days. But the big three religions, of course, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all have Abraham as their root, and the root analogy, as Abraham was told to kill human beings by God, so are you. Not just human beings, kill what you love, kill his son. So that's the root analogy behind those religions. But again, unsuspected, because materialism does not reflect on the model, because it rejects the principle of ousia, because that principle of ousia is mind. and materialism rejects mind. So if that's Jesus and mastering the dialectic to gain wisdom, or philosophy, love of wisdom, philos is love, Sophia is wisdom, and now we understand what wisdom is. It's the model and the activity. It's the knowingness all at once, or the penultimate spiritual experience, the greatest experience, and understanding of it. What is this here? What's that as a way of being, or a model and activity? Could this be the question we have been wondering for the last few episodes? What is this new category of man, this new way of being that makes all other ones obsolete? All other human way of beings are iPhone 7s. If you have an iPhone 7 nowadays, we say to you,
Disgusting. I'm so
disgusting. We say to you,
You're a baby.
You're a little baby.
you're a little baby, because it's redundant. So dooms or makes redundant all other ways of being. What the heck is that? Could it be this one? The kind of activity or use of logos and ousia that reverts on the model of self as the greater that transcends the lesser, the whole that transcends the parts, but also no experience because there's no qualities, but the cause of all experience, making it therefore the highest principle of God. So it's mankind reflecting on himself, not as philosophy or wisdom, but as God. Man reflecting on himself as God, with self being the highest principle of God, which is amazing because not only is it the highest principle and the cause of everything that can exist, it's also the most immediate. It's the most intimate. It's you, bro. We say to you,
Bless you. Excuse you. Bless you.
bless you and excuse you and bless you again because it's you. So we say to you,
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
you are crossing into new boundaries, and this is what you're crossing into. Man reflecting on himself as God. The activity of thinking, reflection, life, your life activity. So how can we know it if it's the cause of everything? Do we have to go back in time to the first cause? Like, do we need to find a DeLorean time machine and go back to the future, back to the past to find? Nope. Why not? Because going back in time means you are in time. In time is one of the principles of the lesser. The self ain't in time, it's out of time. In fact, it's the version of out of time that is not touched by in time. And it's the God or cause of time, meaning each moment is surrounded by timelessness. Each moment, just as your eye takes 30 something frames per second, that's reality. In other words, the self that we're after is not only you, it's able to be experienced in a unique way that's puzzling. So we carry a question in between each moment. So we can take this model of what has to exist for creation this hierarchical model of the self being the highest and the cause of everything else. The self, the one, the good, the whole without parts. And we can sing Parmenides' third song, which is why Parmenides is a dialogue between Socrates and his teacher Parmenides, and why this book is called the greatest book never read. So what happens if we were reading this instead of, I don't know, Bible, Quran? We've put it into this model of the emerging and returning of the now, however many times per second, into the instant. And we've been wondering, hang on a second, how does the instant or the self or God instantaneously know the model, the whole of all parts, and use it for the creation of each next moment, perfectly harmonized with all previous moments, and carrying along everything, each thing and each soul. But not just each thing and each soul, every thought and desire of the soul, your problems. And also this is, Socrates points out, by the way, this model of how the self is the gap between these movie frames. It looks like a film strip here. Dreams will help you see this, because your dream emerges out of a nothingness in sleep. And also, your dreams happen in the gap between your waking life. That's the principle of analogy. This model of how the instant or God or self or the pure one or the pure good creates instantly, perfectly, most appropriately each moment. Our job, therefore, is to create these questions that put us into a, as our friend in chat said, a mashed potato brain state of wonder and confusion. To carry a question is the hero's journey, or to be on a quest. And perfect our understanding or dialectic, so we can take both with us as a learning and nurturing of our soul at every moment. Potentially, you could experience the instant, the self, know yourself as God, and then instantaneously know all of eternity, the penultimate spiritual experience, the brilliant light of being, and then the moment, which would be a moving image of eternity. Well, no movement, we infer the movement, don't we? And then returning again. So let's extend this picture, because we need to talk about it. So what are we doing? We're at a point in the text where Socrates is saying there is a new class of men that dooms all other ones. Holy shit. We've been wondering what in the heck it could be. What I just went through was a possible explanation of what it could be based on our own map that we have been developing because of the questions that we have been developing and our dialectics we have been building together and sharing with those people in chat who stop in every now and again, and long-time viewers like our friend Sus here. Potato brain to her friends. In other words, this activity of wondering and self-reflection, not just random self-reflection, letting your own beliefs just pile on. Nope. Structured, ordered self-reflection that reflects the model of thought, dialectic, So, questions that give you a good state of mind for self-reflection, and the dialectic, so state of mind and activity, model and activity, question and dialectic, that is our development or excellence within time. We have been practicing as we read. In other words, it's also the model for reading. This whole time, therefore, without knowing it, get Shamalai Macalon on the phone. I really struggle with his name. I don't know why. Get M. Night Shyamalan on the phone, because what a twist. This thing that's come to light, this great activity, the excellence of our human functioning, the very thing every human being is here to learn, which is why we have this channel, so we can share it with all of the brain rot people on Twitch and all of the wonderful people on the internet. That's not fair. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Don't be disgusting.
I won't be disgusting.
All right, enough.
Enough.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly, dimwits.
All of the dimwits are here to play this game, because there is this emerging and returning. It's emerging from the instant, and then a returning. 30 something times per second. The instant into the now. The now. And there's a new one. So we want to be receptive to that emerging, so we can see the gap. Because the gap is that which has no qualities, from which all qualities come to be. That's God, therefore. And what do we say is the highest principle of God? That which transcends qualities, or the self. By the way, does yourself have qualities? If yourself had qualities, if yourself was, let's say, blue, had the blue quality, you wouldn't be able to experience, I don't know, yellow, because that blueness would infect it and you would only experience green when you're looking at something yellow. In other words, interpretation. So what is interpretation? To project your own beliefs, which is what humans do. They project their own ignorance or false beliefs onto the world, and they have a blind spot from reason and evidence and questions and learning, that they're blind to that because they're leaving that out, to project what's not there and to leave out what is. That's interpretation. By the way, interpretation is how we're taught to read in modern schools, because that's belief and Aristotle. The Roman tradition, the Third Reich, the church and the state, the Third Reich, Nazis. Because beliefs are in principle fascist. Or, I'm right, why? I don't know, because I'm blocked, or I'm leaving out reason, evidence, and understanding and principles. I have a loyalty to my own ignorance. I can never change my beliefs, so there's no learning. And I can never be wrong, because punishment is part of belief as well. If you're ever wrong, then you deserve to be genocided, just like you make other people wrong. And so interpretation, to project your own beliefs or have a blind spot because of your beliefs. So what we have been doing is reading the text carefully, highlighting the lines, reading sometimes a page at a time, and then reflecting sometimes for 2 or 3 or 4 episodes in a row without even reading any further, so we can nail it down without interpretation. Our job, therefore, is to see each moment without interpretation. In the now, you can develop a false belief about yourself from childhood. That's going to prevent you experiencing the brilliant light in the transition, the crossover of whole and part, the model, and the instant, the self. God. So we want to let go of everything to do with beliefs or images from physical appearances while holding on to our questions and our activity of the dialectic, the state of mind of being puzzled and questioning, carrying their questions, and the activity of dialectic. Mind and activity. Ousia and logos. And we've been doing that this whole time. That's the fantastic. Whoops. No. Stop. That's, damn it. Oh, terrible.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Sorry, that's for me.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
I'm sad for you. That's the get M. Night Shyamalan on the phone, because that's the Jesus.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly. Dimwits, wits.
That's me. As I was saying, get M. Night Shyamalan on the phone, because this is the great twist. Yeah, I did it. Hooray. The great twist is this activity on the excellence of men that we've been bringing to birth. We've been doing it all along in how we've been reading, how we've been talking with our friends, how we say hello to each other. What questions do you have? What have you been wondering about? How's your dialectic going? Or put those two together, your questions and your understanding together. Or what blocks have you had? Apply because you could have a question about your problems, and you solve your problems by looking for the patterns through the dialectic. So how's your question and dialectic going about your reading or your high questions, high states of mind? How's your question and dialectic going about your low states of mind or blocks? They're the only two things you can ask someone. There's a third. How are your questions and reflections going on your dreams? Really, the only three things you can ask a person. Like everything has that as their roots, right? So in how we've been learning to relate to each other, how we've been learning to relate to the text, is this new way of being, or how we're learning to relate to ourselves and each moment. Because each moment we are wondering about the gap, or man reflecting on himself as the instant, or man reflecting on himself as God. But also knowing that, hang on a second, we are developing a dialectic about that question. Not your beliefs about God, Abrahamic bullshit, or Pauline bullshit, or any other crazy belief bullshit. No. We're using understanding and dialectic. In other words, the whole that's not part, the same that transcends difference, the out of time that doesn't actually go into time but is somehow reflected and is the cause of time. See, we're addressing it properly through understanding. How we've been learning to relate to the book, our friends over coffee. Cheers. How we're learning to relate to our dreams is also what we're discovering in the new way of being, how man relates to himself and each moment. Because this understanding or this reflection on ourself as God, or the instant between each frame or moment, is one that's not many, or the one. It's good. Transcending the cause of goodness as the model of mind. So the good itself, or the one itself, the good self or the one self. But hang on a second, even though that's what we're reflecting on, everything you think is a one. Everything you reach for, you distinguish this chicken as one chicken different from the other stuffies on my desk. Speaking of stuffies, I had a long night last night, so I need to squeeze my Phoenix stuffy. So you have to distinguish this one, a chicken, from other ones. Or Phoenix stuffy, distinguish her from others. So in other words, even though the one and the good is the transcendent God, self, you, cause of all, the first cause of each moment. So we don't have to go back in time, because that's time. We're not looking for the self in time. It can't, because time is where qualities are. So we don't need a DeLorean. Hello there, nice stream. Hello, welcome. Welcome. So we don't have to go back in time for the first cause. It surrounds time. So surrounding each moment in time is that which is out of time. That's the self. That is God. So the same way we've been relating to the text, developing questions, puzzled state of mind and carrying that question, developing our dialectic, our use of understanding to address that question. There's our model and activity. Pretty simple. Both of them is a kind of ousia. You're reflecting on yourself in the question, or your problems in the question, either your excellence or your problem. And dialectic is to revert upon yourself, so they're both self-reflection or ousia. And they're both logos. Because your question is solvable, that means it's understandable, that's the logos. And your activity is the use of the logos through dialectic. In other words, you're doing well, I just follow you, keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, we're about 90 episodes into the book, and we've just had some major revelations. So you come at a great time. Revelation being, in this conversation that Socrates and Jesus is having in heaven, Socrates said, hang on a second, while I've been representing the cognitive function of understanding, what we call the dialectic, how to revert on the root causes and principles of things so you can solve problems. So the root causes of problems, which is, by the way, belief. But also you revert on the model of understanding, pure mind, for your excellence. So the purification of problems and the perfection of excellence, that's understanding. That's the dialectic. That's the art we are all here to master. Jesus represents the cognitive function of belief, which is a rejection of mind, a rejection of understanding to be a believer and not change, not grow. Always believe in Jeebus, always believe in whatever your religion was. Always support Trump, whatever. So while there's a cognitive function of belief, which is a false model of truth, you gotta leave. Oh, well, this is what we say about you leaving.
She's like a cold-hearted cunt.
You're a cold-hearted cunt.
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
Why'd you from Stupid Town?
Well, you're doing your best.
But you're doing your best, so we say thanks. Catch you next stream. Would you add me on Discord? No, but you can join our Discord. There's a link below. You can join the Discord and you get a notification when we go live. So, human problems are caused by belief or a false model and activity personified by Jesus. Human problems are solved by the activity that we are all here to master, the art of dialectic, that can revert on the causes, either of problems in purification or the cause of understanding itself, the model of mind or ousia. Understanding and belief. We're at a stage of human development where if we do not wake up our love of understanding, philos dianoia, and our mastery of the dialectic, human beings go extinct. If the human race is worth saving because there's a greater purpose for it, then we need to see the root cause of human problems is always belief, which is itself a shadow, a distorted reflection of understanding. It's a false model and a harmful activity. Ignorance. So moving from that into where we left behind with Socrates. But hang on a second. What is this new class of man that even Socrates and Jesus would be doomed by, or their ways of being obsolete as an iPhone 7? You see someone as a believer or a wisdom understander, we say to them,
You moron. You absolute fucking buffoon. You goddamn idiot.
well, that's a bit harsh. With something along those lines.
I don't know.
Something
You'll get a
like
bunch of views.
that. We'll get a bunch of views. And we are hypothesizing with our question that we've brought to birth that it might be this one. Remember, analogy is how we solve problems. We've been learning all the way through the text that the way of solving problems is looking for patterns and apply it analogously to different sets. For instance, you're walking through the hallway in Resident Evil, you see a painting and there's a person there and he's got a blue gem in each eye and there's an open door next to it. And then you go next one, and there's another painting and there's a green gem in each eye and there's an open door next to it. And then you go along and there's a painting and there's no gems and there's a locked door. You apply, terms may vary, relations stay the same. The relation between the gems and doorways stay the same. The new term is, I have to find these gems to open the door. That's puzzle solving. That's analogy. That's thinking. If you've ever met someone who really struggles with analogy, you might find they are very stupid and you would have to say to them,
Whore.
well, or maybe even,
Disgusting. I'm so disgusting. Don't be disgusting.
don't be
They're
disgusting.
completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
And they will be completely lying to you.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
You will find people who struggle with analogy as a dullard borderline chimp who just wants to kiss a fox. That's all they want to do. Can you believe it? So that's analogy. So what are we doing? We're taking everything that we do know from the lesser terms, applying it to another same relationships to a different set of terms. In other words, this one here. So that's our hypothesis. We're going to go back and read the book and see if it fits with the reading. Is the new class of man some self-reflective activity, ousia, that makes use of the logos and dialectic, to revert on ourselves as God, in the instant, between each moment, transcending all of time and creation and experience, but also that which is the whole of everything and the cause of everything, the first and final cause, outside of time. So bringing in our model of how creation unfolds through time. So we don't have to go to if it's the first cause, we don't have to go back in time. And if it's the final cause, we don't have to wait until the end of evolution, because it's outside of all time. It's the surrounding of each moment. It's the gap. And knows the model that we have been reflecting on through wisdom instantaneously. So bringing into this puzzle, the ideal of the samurai that we've talked about earlier. Or in the book, I think it's most appropriately here we go. What is sometimes referred to as being in the zone or being on fire in basketball. I think time of recording, Clay Thompson, he's a basketball player. He is he's called hot and cold. Sometimes, a couple of times he's caught on fire, and he had a game for the Dallas Mavericks this week or yesterday where he caught on fire and got 7 3-pointers in one quarter. Or the ideal of the martial artist, or the ideal of the samurai, where hey, in learning, once you've learned something, the form of the thing learned becomes transparently, what's that? Purely, clearly, no qualities, one's own. All learning, be it music, mathematics, or the language that you've learned, once truly learns, can bring the soul to act without having to recall what it has learned, like your language, you just talk. Once learned, it is possible to act spontaneously, like the instant, bringing it together through the object learned. What are we learning about? The instant, the self, ousia, dialectic. In that state of excellence, there's that excellence we've been trying to perfect. It is an experience of mind itself. Now we're going one step beyond the experience of mind itself. It is an openness, a wonderful freedom to act without thinking. Yet that state of freedom makes possible acts that are totally appropriate to one's circumstances. Much of human learning is done by rote and interpretation, as we mentioned earlier, but it does not achieve this inner state of mind. And that surely is a loss, if that's all that's offered. This is a union of body and soul into what is a complete being, what makes the human being. It is no different from the informing principle which brings to a unity the different parts and organs of our body into a single being. The turning about, ousia, dialectic, to discover what learning is. The dialectic and ousia applied to the building blocks, the model of learning, and its furthermost reach, high superlatives, raises that union to a spiritual union that marks the pursuit of philosophia, philosophy, love of wisdom. What we are saying is, hang on a second, this learning through questions and dialectic, a turning about on the model of, the model of the informing principle, turning about to discover what learning is, turning about on the principle of understanding, that eventually becomes a clear way of seeing, a transparent way of seeing, where you don't have to think about it anymore, you're just wise now. Which is no different from, what's this? This is whole and parts. So just as your whole and part crossover of the parts of your body come together into a whole, into a single way of being, giving rise to a higher cognitive function, thought, consciousness. So too, analogy, remember, so too, analogously, so too, this perfection of understanding through questions in the dialectic, to revert upon the whole, brings together the whole of all parts. We are saying, hang on a second, if there is an instant, if there's an inner state of being, or a way of being, a complete way of being, which is a kind of excellence where you can act instantaneously with clear seeing of what you've learned, most appropriately for the circumstances here, there must therefore be an even greater excellence ideal of the samurai or the basketball man here. Because while this is a whole of all parts, this knowingness doesn't even have parts. It's the parts are its shadow. The whole of all parts is its own shadow. That's how perfect it is. Such that even in this experience of wisdom, you can recognize there's an even more perfect God or self, inherent, beyond even experience, here. Analogously, we would expect the more we reflect on this model, mankind reflecting on himself as the instant and God, Eventually, it will become our own and we will see through it purely. This is the highest excellence, the excellence of self, knowing itself and functioning excellently immediately through self, just like each moment and just like your dream maker. Holy fuck.
Well, you're doing your best. Wow.
Hooray. So, let's see if it fits with what we've been reading. Let's jump in. Let's do it. So our friend on the chat was a spam.
And
man.
this is spam.
He was a spam.
Robots will replace that, and that's terrifying.
So we say to this guy who wants me to add him to his fucking Discord.
Like
we say to him,
literally suck my dick, dude.
come on, dude, suck my dick.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
You don't talk to me, you robot. Shut up.
Shut up, robot.
Oh my fuck.
I like that one.
Bitch.
That's you in the chat.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dude exists everywhere.
And it's you.
But you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real.
You're not even real. So does this model take us back to where we are? Oh, and by the way, even though the thing that we're after is one or good, everything that we see is one, and that was the thing with the stuffies. And we reach for the right stuffy because we think it's good to do so. So we're always participating in self, one, and good, even if on the quest to know the one good self. So let's see if it fits. So, next step from our reflection on the difference between wisdom and understanding and belief. One being the solution to problems, one being its cause. Could there be a someone who goes beyond both of those positions, says Socrates? A new candidate. My God, this chair is uncomfortable today. Maybe sit up straight. Is there a new category of man that will doom all others? We'll say to anyone else, we'll say to them,
Vapid cunt.
oh my goodness. What you are proposing may mean there's a new vision of a new kind of metaphysics and a new philosophy. Here it is. A new idea of man that is brought forward that clearly announces a new kind of divine man-like activity. It would not that mean that the that the divine or God has made man to no longer reflect upon himself as man, but as a God whose activity is in the sphere of man, of this new man. So while our activity, like Hercules, is still in Hades, within the sphere of time, what marks this new category of man is reflect on himself as a God. Now that's interesting because mankind. Because while we've been talking about the purpose or meaning of life for all of us, we've been saying, hang on a second. Is there a purpose or destiny for our race? Something worth going through this evolving process to save the race of man? Is there a purpose? Are we worth saving? Is there a goal for the human race? And funnily enough, mankind's used a lot. He does mention this. Mankind is born to learn, to fulfill a destiny, learning what is good, as well as the highest good. What we now know as the self is primary. Human race, maybe? How about just destiny? Oops. Okay, I'll pause for a second so I can find this. Alright, so individually we're in a cycle of reincarnation because we're here to learn. As a race, our job would be to end the cycle of all clan beliefs and go on to know ourselves. Individually, before our next reincarnation, the soul might say, no more thanks, I would rather not be reincarnated down there. To whatever degree the soul is aware that it's facing a life where misery and suffering is its lot, why not pull back and say no? We are a race that's here to fulfill a destiny. The end is everywhere present. Now we understand what that earlier statement meant. It's everywhere present. It surrounds and causes each moment. To come to know the self is to realize the nature of reality is divine and the nature of self. Our task is complicated because we seek other goals and have other loyalties, but really we only need to do this thing. Okay, so our individual clan belief and false belief of self that becomes our identity is our job individually, but as a race, can we end all? Can we understand as a whole the model of all kinds of pathologos, clan beliefs, and put an end to all of it? And excuse me, there's also a, let's play a drop while I look.
A space wizard farted out the universe. All humans are inbred from a single pair of humans, not once but twice. If you're a naughty person, you get tortured eternally in a pool of lava by a vindictive genocidal deity who loves you.
Talking about a bunch of slop. Don't be disgusted. Disgusted.
Awesome, man.
Found it. When death arrives, all those who are capable of this kind of learning take what has been learned and nurtured into them. What we have been nailing down as two things, really. Maybe even one, if you think about it. A questioning state of mind and carrying a question, and this art of dialectic we can master here. That's the learning and nurturing we can take with us into our next life. Whatever is yet to be learned and realized becomes what must be returned to in another life. Okay, individually, that's reincarnation. So we bring, so long as we are still identified with an image and we haven't gone through the dialectic and midwifery and dream analysis, we're going to come around and experience more ignorance and suffering. But we can play the game, so we can actually do it. And it's a fun book, and it's good people who are doing it. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. So that's individually. Man as a whole is what I was looking for, is part of this struggle to know thyself. It is a cosmic dance of meaning that ends when there is nothing left to learn. As the race of man ends in a state no longer of man, but that to which he has joined himself. No longer of man. I'll have to remember that quote. The race of man. That's all the way back at page 131. He drops this clue or puzzle that we are aware of because we didn't really get it. We had a question about it. We did our best to develop a dialectic or understanding of it, but I wasn't satisfied, so I still had the question. Still on the quest.
I'm looking for someone to share in it.
You're a wizard, Harry.
The quest of man. So, what was the question? What's the end of the human race, or the purpose or destiny, that's what it means, of the human race to a state, mankind is in a state no longer of man, but that to which he has joined himself. And if we've been distinguishing primarily two states of being, ignorance and wisdom, Socrates and Jesus, belief, model, and functioning, and knowing, model, and understanding function. Sorry, those two ways of being. What is man emerging into that's no longer of man? That question we can take with us to where we are now. A new idea of man, no longer reflecting upon himself as man. So here's our no longer of man. Actually, even the words no longer. So our author is being considerate and dropping us the same word that I just mentioned. I'm going to have to look for no longer. It stood out as, hey, when you're playing Resident Evil and there's like a statue that stands out, it's like in the wrong place, or it's like colored differently than the background, so you know it's probably an object. It stands out. Look for those things that stand out. Same thing as dream analysis. No longer. That's a weird way of saying it. Here it is again. He's tying it together. It's a clue. No longer reflect. So what was the thing before? The purpose of man or destiny is to the purpose of man is to fulfilled when we are no longer of man, but we've joined a... Fuck it. I forgot already. Sorry.
Whore much?
I deserve that.
Whore?
Jesus. The race of man ends in the state. So it's a state of being. No longer of man, but that to which he has joined. No longer reflecting upon himself as man. There we go. No longer of man, but that to which he's joined. God. So where else I mean, it makes sense, right? Where else could we be joining if not man? The Gloop Glorp alien race? The Martians? God. Wouldn't that be above man? So no longer reflecting upon yourself as man, but as a God whose activity is in the sphere of the new man, which matches our idea of Hercules. State of mind, feasting, banqueting with the gods, while also functioning in Hades. Because you're the self in the moment, you're the model, that's the wisdom, but also you're the transcendent gap. Instant. Okay, so this is our hypothesis, remember? Is there an activity of reflection on self here that's different from Socrates and Jesus that we could personify as these? Is that this new way of being? Is it the top one? Seems to be, because we are reflecting, there's our activity, and we're reflecting ourselves as God. And as we said, this is the cause of everything, would make it the highest idea of God. It's fitting so far with the text, which is important, which is necessary. So Usia is part of it. Understanding is part of it. The power of Usia's reversion makes others good and godlike. Well, it's what we've been talking about, that if you revert on the model, you become good. And now we're reverting on the model of God, self. We're becoming not only good, but godlike. And the power of Usia brings us to reflect and turn about. This begins the awakening of the inner life of philosophy. The good, or the one, is no longer conceived of as remote and transcendent, but near and most essential to us. Like, it's the gap and cause of each moment. Everywhere we reach out to experience, we always distinguish a oneness. This stuffy is different from that stuffy, of this or that. Without this ability to distinguish ones, there would be no intellectual life, no reflection. Every thought is a one, every idea is a one, every word is a one. So the one shows itself in everything. So it's the all as well as the transcendent gap, the instant. But by the way, as we reach out to experience, so do we think it good to do so. There's something we think it's good to, whatever we do, it's worth doing, we think. So again, the good is also part and parcel of every experience. Everything you reach out to do, you think it's good to do so, and you have to distinguish a one to grab the right stuffy. I need to get some cats or something. I shouldn't be kissing a stuffy. That's very unbecoming. You might say about what I was doing.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Jesus, maybe not that harsh. You'd
They're
say,
completely lying to you. They're
If you don't know, now you know.
all right, now you know. We reach out to experience, we think it's good to do so. Therefore, the good, which we could also call the one, so just as Usia and Logos are kind of together, the one and the good is the same qualityless self, the instant. So the one, which is also the good, which is also the one, is part and parcel of every experience, and it is through the power of Usia we realize we're not strangers. We wouldn't have realized that everything we do is one and good. And our goal is one and good, to know ourselves as the one and good, which is God. So only in that Usia reflection can we come to realize this. By the intelligence that functions in and through the gap, there appears the moment. So it causes each moment. An instantaneous event. And it is this that we have spoken of many times, emerging from that gap. For this surrounds whatever it is, yet it's not in time. So we don't have to go back to find the first cause in a DeLorean time machine. It surrounds each moment. It's the self. It's the most immediate. And everything you do is one and good. You think it's one and good, and you have to distinguish one and good. It's timeless. It's not in time. So from its prior pure state, it has entered the world and is the very substance of our growth and change of all things. It creates each moment and it guides each moment, and it's the model for excellence of each moment. Creates each moment, guides us, every thought, every dream. All our puzzles are guides, so long as we unpack it with questions and dialectic. But also, once we reach the one and the good, we know ourselves as God. It's our excellence. So it's the very substance of our growth and change as well. Is this the candidate for the new way of being? And also, can we, in this way of being, see that God dwells invisibly by his own excessive brilliance, even in the divine luminosity? So even in here, wisdom, experience of divine luminosity, mind, model, there is that clear qualityless even in that, having the experience, causing the experience, and it's the shadow of self. But it's even more brilliant than the most brilliant, beautiful, luminous experience. Holy fuck, God's pretty good. And it's you. In other words,
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
see, that's you.
The primary purpose of pools
Oh my
is
God,
not
not the
to
pools
murder.
again.
It is for enjoyment and cooling off.
I knew that already.
If you don't know, now you know.
But I did know. So, God, you, self, this new way of being, reflecting on yourself as God, dwells invisibly by his own excessive brilliance in that divine luminosity, even more brilliant than divine luminosity. And does he say that those who are worthy come to know and see God through that very divine luminosity? So there's that key word of through, passing through. So even in this divine luminosity, can you have a question? Even in this the divine luminosity, that's the greatest, most potentially, I don't want to use the word overwhelming because it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Can you be curious even there? Can you use the dialectic even there and reason about it? That would be the standard. Which is interesting because in the lineage from Diotima, Socrates' teacher, along with Parmenides, the idea is love and logos is the model of true relationships. So as beautiful as the girl is or your beloved is, can you still have questions with her? Can you still engage in understanding or the dialectic with her? And then as you have higher and higher, give birth to higher and higher, intense, divine, beautiful, luminous, pleasurable experiences, can you carry your words, your questions, and your dialectic all the way through? That's why you need to find a girl with a good heart and good mind. Beautiful soul. An excessive brilliance that's even more brilliant than a physical appearance. To quote, or to refer back to this thing. Now, you don't have to be one without the other. Often those sorts of people are the most beautiful anyway. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win. Such that, as that, according to Diotima, with the third member of your relationship being the self, culminates in that excessive, that divine luminosity experience. But this whole relationship you've been cultivating questions and dialectic all the way through, love and logos. So you've been preparing for, through this, through learning and nurture, you've been preparing to even have a question and the dialectic in divine luminosity to travel through it to the self. Or, with the other model, in the returning to the instant, go through the divine luminosity. That's that crossover of the Venn diagram to the instant. In other words, what would be the question that you would have? Even in the divine luminosity, knowing everything about reality. The self. Therefore, this new class of man reflecting on yourself as God the instant is a necessary kind of reflection or question and necessary kind of application of the dialectic or understanding to become worthy of going through the luminosity to the self. It's the ultimate learning we're here to do. Or, as the book says, recognize that there is a higher God that dwells invisibly in that brilliant light of being, or the model of divine luminosity. So those who are worthy, what can we do? Learn and nurture questions and dialectic. Those who are worthy come to know and see God through that very divine luminosity. There's two uses of the word through, two kinds of definitions for this key term. you see it through it. In other words, even in this divine luminosity, you can see it's, through that, I can recognize there is even more divine, excessive brilliance, because there's something has to cause that, or there's something experiencing that. So through that experience, you can recognize an even divine, even more excellence or brilliance through that experience. The other definition of this term, through, is to literally pass through to the instant, which you would only do is if you had a question about something that's even beyond the greatest experience. God, cause of it, the experiencer of it, as Xenophony says, it's the God, the whole, the one that's seeing the whole of God. This fellow, this chap, this lady. Not gendered, I wouldn't think. Can't be, because that would be equality. So, fitting so far. So those who are worthy, which we are nailing down a hypothesis for, can, through that, in those two kinds of definitions, can see God. And then we go on to talk about this guy named Dionysius the Areopagite, who snuck into the Bible by claiming to be a friend of Paul, follower of Paul, and around at the time of Jesus' crucifixion, smuggled in all of this stuff about the dialectic that we're seeing here. So now we call him Pseudo-Dionysius. Recognizing the problem of Paul and the appeal for human ignorance to manipulate others through their beliefs and images, and to pretend to be a knower yourself when you're just a stupid believer because you haven't done your work of the dialectic and dream analysis with philosophical midwifery to uncover and remove your very ignorance that you are literally born to address. Recognizing, seeing what's happening now with Paul and the church, and Emperor Justinian ending the academy, killing the philosophers or exiling or killing them. So seeing what's happening in the present, seeing why it's happening, and having a foresight into what will happen in the future, Dionysius snuck in this Platonic philosophy and the principles of the dialectic by claiming to be a follower of Paul. I know who these Christians are going to like. They're not going to listen to fucking Jesus or any of the Gnostic Gospels that we have, that we discovered in the 60s in Egypt. The Nakamati texts, I think it's called. The Gospel of Jesus' twin brother, Thomas. Gospel of James. The Gnostic Gospel of John. I think there are other ones as well. Maybe Mary. They're not going to like that shit. They're going to go for Paul because he's a, you know, what's a nice way of saying it?
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
Because Paul just blew it in from Stupid Town with his beliefs and claiming to be even greater than Jesus.
Bitch. I don't. Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck with Paul.
You just blow in from Stupid Town. She's like a cold-hearted cunt.
Yeah, Paul's cunt.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
You'll get a bunch of views.
We'll get a bunch of views. They'll get so many views, so I better sneak in as a friend of Paul, understanding, otherwise belief will take over the whole fucking world. And it did, the Dark Ages, and our current state of the world in the tradition of Paul and Aristotle and Justinian. So that's Dionysius the Areopagite, Pseudo-Dionysius. But in Mark, we see that Jesus actually said you have to solve the parables, which is analogy, of course, which is understanding, which is what we've been doing here, to give birth to these questions and a dialectical way of using analogy to answer them. So for the kingdom of God isn't a literal thing, you idiots. You
Disgusting. I'm so
I don't know, whatever.
talking about a bunch of slop.
talking about a bunch of slop. If you think it's literal, it's a state of mind in the present, resulting in the training of the mind to see the solution of each parable. All right, neat. That's in Mark. Dionysus also says that it's open to those capable of participating in it, and that's grasping truth and reality, which unfolds a well-being and goodness from the good, which fits everything we've been saying here. So his idea of Christianity is actually Platonic. Neat. So if you want a backdoor into truth and reality and goodness, you can embrace the part of the Bible that's Dionysius's writings. Why not? Dionysius writings gave the opportunity to embrace reason and understanding as the natural corollaries to the mystical experience. In other words, if you do have this experience of the whole of all parts, don't, as Jesus say, revert straight back into your beliefs. Do understanding. Just as we talked about with the loving relationships, all of your blissful or beautiful experiences, reflect on it, understand it. Or as Pierre Grimes said once, make love with the lights on. Talk about it, reflect on it, in the afterglow and in the experience, because understanding is the natural corollary to the experience. The experience is a state of mind, or the model here. Understanding is its corollary or action to revert upon itself, and it's in that reversion through understanding that you perfect it, therefore love and logos, ultimately realizing that there is an even more brilliant God that you can recognize through this, that transcends this, so you can reflect on the self. Or as Diotima says, in this experience of the truth, you can then go on to perfect true excellence. So while this is where Plato ends, this is the end of Platonic philosophy, Diotima says you have to go on to perfect true excellence, meaning there's a higher model. That's not the end. And that's what we are discovering is this new race of man, new way of being of man that makes everything else garbage. Everything else is iPhone 7. Everything else is...
You moron. You absolute fucking buffoon. You goddamn idiot.
Goddamn idiots. Bit harsh, but also true. Very profound. Our oracle on the soundboard is always profound. Hey.
Absolutely gooped.
And we get goop.
I think it's so awesome.
And we think it's awesome. So it fits, doesn't it? So that's those who are worthy. Trained to reflect and have questions about questions and dialectic, or states of mind and activity, or ousia and logos, but really it's a oneness, to wonder about the self as God. Holy fuck beans. Fits, doesn't it? Good thing we reflected so goddamn much. Good thing we spent all this time drawing these models. Good thing we've been puzzled and been okay with being puzzled. Good things we had, good that we had guidance from the soundboard. Right?
Bless you. Excuse you. Bless you.
Bless and excuse all of us. So let's see where it goes in the text from here. Excited? Let's jump in. Dionysius' writings, says Jesus. Where are our dudes? Dionysius' writings. So we've just reflected on what we just reviewed everything. So here's where we are. New way of being, the potential purpose or destiny or meaning for mankind itself, which is no longer reflecting on himself as man, but as God. So the purpose of humanity's existence is to put an end to all clan beliefs and ways of being, and reflect on oneself as God. Perfect our art of dialectic and questioning way of being, learning and nurture, so that we can see in each moment the model of mind itself, and go through it to the instant. To know yourself as God. And even in the Bible of Gibbous, Dionysus' writings give us the opportunity to embrace reason and understanding. We love reason and understanding. They are winners. They're the good stuff. Reason and understanding. Oh. So tasty. Brilliant. Reason and understanding. As also the natural corollaries to mystical experience. And also highlighting again, you can have those high experiences in many different ways, including dreams. Therefore, dream analysis, reflect on the high states of dreams. Whatever high states, your insights and things. Don't be content with just experience. Embrace reason and understanding always. You even find it with Dionysus. That's where we are. So Jesus says this, and then where are our dudes? And then the chorus. Oh, we have sound effects. Chorus jumps in. Chorus are the haters. They are the copium smoking, haterade drinking, butthurt people. To them we say,
Disgusting, I'm so bitch.
to them we
Whore
say,
much? You moron. You absolute fucking buffoon. You goddamn idiot. Whore. Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
we say all that to them. Here they are. And they have a voice.
You need to laugh at this so-called analysis. They are agreeing with the absurd. Imagine for a moment that Mark's gospel rejects Paul. And no one sees it but these two. Ooh, why believe it? It is all a matter of faith. I believe it because it is beyond the reach of these intellectuals' phony criticism. I can only warn you against this stuff. Parmenides, again and again. Why don't they dump what no one finds meaningful? Then they appeal to Gnostic John for support? What? How can a heretic like Gnostic John support Christianity? I'll tell you straight. Sure, Plato's Academy and the other pagan schools of philosophy were closed down, and there's no need to open them up. Frankly, when a sword is over your head, you'll switch. Because whatever you believe in is just as good as anything else.
See, believers don't even value their own fucking bullshit belief. They'll believe we gained our belief to survive our upbringing in our house. You were a baby. You had to believe their horse shit. Otherwise you wouldn't survive. That's the irrationality of how humans are raised. Yes, they go where the wind blows. See it? With MAGA in power, all the Nazis are brave enough to stick their head up. They're not brave, they're wearing masks while they do their disgusting things. What do believers say of people who can use their mind properly? Intellectuals. While using that's the irony. They are using stupid ass arguments that there is no better belief than others. It's just whatever way the wind blows, which is still an argument. They're still using the intellect. They're just using it poorly to reject intellectuals, people who use the intellect properly, understanders. So yeah, haters, we say to you,
Bitch. Vapid cunt.
vapid C words. But then there's the anti-chorus, baby. Bring in the anti-chorus. Where are they? Yeah. Anti-chorus. That's them in the red. The antidote to the haters, like Mark to Paul.
The idea of closing down the academy appeals to you because you can't stand differences, can you? You want things simple and hate the complex. Life is complex. Look around and you'll see that. Look into the souls of those about you and you'll see the desperate plea for understanding. Not only oneself, but the nature of reality. You don't want to see what is right in front of you, so you create this mask of yours and make believe that you are making sense by defending what you don't understand. Now that is a wisdom bomb. Can't understand differences. They are confused by the perplexed. Now, our friend on the soundboard, this guy,
Imagine.
wait.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, but lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
So our friend Keegan Teagan, follow him on Instagram, and he also does YouTube shorts. Does the psychology of politics. Keegan Teagan. He provides the empirical studies that validate what we are seeing about the nature of the pathologos or belief. And in one such study, he points out, yeah, they're confused and they don't like confusion. They don't like complexity. So what do? They create this bullshit mask of knowing, like every right-winger politician and every religious authority person and every parent to their children pretends to know by creating a bullshit-ass mask instead of being curious and developing understanding. So, and they make believe they are making sense, make belief, cosplaying, while defending what they don't understand. They don't even understand their own position because they can't, because it's imitation. That's belief. But if we were to look at every person, everyone is the same self, operating through at some point of development along the model of mind or the whole of parts. At a stage of development that reflects two things: their perfection of dialectic and what level of purification of their false mask and belief about self and reality they've got. In other words, we are here. The only solution to your problems is to remove your false belief and mask and image of self and reality through understanding. So if you look around at every single person, you can see a sameness. We are all in a state of a desperate plea for understanding of self and reality. These two models, the two real ways of using understanding, the model of reality or mind and the self. This one being the new class of man, reflecting on yourself as God. Believers are pretending to do that thing, have a fake model that rejects mind and rejects the self. A false image of the self that says that you're bad and reality is bad, and pretends to be virtuous, but really it's the nature of vice. Vice as the distorted reflection of virtue. Therefore, this is the cause of everyone's suffering. Globally, politically, but everyone individually. Therefore, everyone, if you care to look, is in a desperate plea for this understanding about reality or mind and the self. It's only in that development can you also use that art of reflection, the dialectic, to compare it to your false models of self and reality, and again do dream analysis and ask the questions that traces it back to the origin of that mask so you can dissolve it. Therefore, the three uses of our thinking: to reflect on the model of reality or mind, whole of all parts, and to reflect on yourself as the whole beyond parts, God, the one or the good. And the third, to remove the fake model of those two things, which is the source of man's ignorance and suffering. Believers, they are zombies. They have the same script, whether it's a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, or any believer, a racist, a MAGA, a Nazi, a Zionist, a Scientologist, whatever. They all are the same. They all reject that true model of true use of understanding to know the model of reality, and they all reject the true use of understanding to know the self. While they're always at war with each other, that's why the pages of human history are soaked in blood, they can unify against understanding, knowing, wisdom, and self. To say that self is God, oh, heresy, burn her at the stake. And to that we say,
It's sad. And I'm sad for it. I'm sad for it. I'm sad for it. I'm sad
I'm
for it.
sad
I'm sad for it.
for you. So, care to look, and you'll see all believers sing the same song. What do? They defend what they themselves don't understand, their blind loyalty to their bullshit mask. But what are they really seeking for? The same thing every living person does, every human being does. Because that ignorance is the cause of their suffering, we are all the same in our desperate plea for the actual model, not the rejection of it, but the development of it through understanding. Desperate plea for understanding, not only the self, but reality, the other two things. There's the three things you can do: the model of wisdom, the model of self, and purifying false beliefs. That's it. Meaning everyone is at some stage of development. They're either materialists who reject all of this, like Aristotle. They're believers who reject it because their priest or minister or rabbi or imam says so. So they're either materialists, belief-based cognition, but again, we can also recognize materialism as the activity of belief. What convinced you to reject your own mind? Must be a powerful belief. What convinced you to reject yourself? Holy fuck. So we can say that's 5, 4, 3. Our movement is to understanding. That's how it's the necessary next stage. Understanding, the art of dialectic. Philodianoia, love of understanding. And then the use of understanding to gain knowledge. 2. These two together we call wisdom. And the use of understanding to reflect on self as God, the new way of being. Now we've been saying that this higher use of understanding could be the activity of self. So we could call that 1, and the reaching the goal, knowing the self in the instant, we could call 10. The mysterious 10th hypothesis of Parmenides. Or we could say this is 1 and there's 2 uses of understanding, but to fit the model there has to be a self and its activity. And because the first hypothesis is Parmenides' description of the self as the one self through a dialectic, it does seem to be the activity. from self of self, says Parmenides. I'm going to give a dialectic from myself of myself. And he says, I don't want to because I have to go down a level. You're asking an old racehorse to return to his object of love. In other words, he used to love it, but he's over it now. He's done it. He used to love this game. And his student Zeno said, you want him to do a dialectic on the one self? I've been a student of his for a long time. I've only seen him do it once. And Socrates says, come on, man, do it. And he goes, no way. I'm old. I don't want to return to that. You're asking a racehorse, champion racehorse, to return to his object of love. Screw you. And he's okay, well, I'll ask your student. And Zeno goes, no, I'm with you. Get the master to do it. So it does sound like he goes down a level. So if we're using the hypotheses of Parmenides, 5, 4, hey, 3 is understanding. 2 is wisdom. 1 maybe is the activity. And then the mysterious 10th hypothesis that the text told us we need to fill in. Now there's 10 because for each of these other ones, there's a rejection. There's a rejection of 5, the 9, a rejection of 4, 8. So materialism, you can even reject materialism, nihilism. There isn't even parts. Even that's an illusion. A rejection of 3 is 7, a rejection of 2 is 6. And so, but that's the 10 or the 9 hypotheses of Parmenides and the mysterious 10th. Now that's interesting because we've said that the third hypothesis, which we are saying is understanding, is also a moment. This is the dance, which fits with our idea of Hercules as perfecting his, or if our job as human beings is to perfect our understanding, the dialectic. And the ideal is Penelope and Hercules is described as dwelling with the gods while also dealing with the shadows in Hades. And Hades represents the ignorance of our images in time. Then the perfection of understanding is this: to have the state of mind of the self in the gap, instantaneously know the model, and use it in each moment. That's the third hypothesis. Excellence. Which is fascinating because that means that even though it's 3, maybe it embraces all of it. The state of self, the model here, the model here. Which makes sense because we did say that you can use understanding for both. And understanding to help people, like the shadows. All right, so there's our 3 uses of understanding, allowing us to function in all 3 states of the instant. The instant, the model, instantaneously know the model of the whole, and the parts, or the now. Hercules and Penelope. Holy crap, that's the new model of man. That makes everything else lame. Why just know the model if you're neglecting the self? In other words, the purpose of humanity is for us to perfect understanding through the dialectic, ultimately culminating in this model on the board. Reflecting on yourself as God. Because you have no qualities, right? You experience stuff. Do you have a shape? Is there like a little signature in the corner, like on the bottom of a painting that says, that's me? We talked about how everything that we do is a one or a good. We distinguish one stuffy and we reach for it because we think it's good. That one or the good or the instant, it's also without qualities. It's you. Can you see it always? Hopefully you have a question about this, yourself as God, and hopefully you're having fun Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy?
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
Hopefully you're having fun in wondering and perfecting your dialectical understanding. Which is what we're here to do. That's the art we're here to master. Oh my goodness. Today was a banger. Wasn't even going to stream today because I was a bit sleepy. Good thing I did. Super banger today. I hope you found it was a banger too. I hope you're having fun. I hope you've got a question and you've been practicing the dialectic, wondering about the dialectic as much as you can until it eventually becomes yours and you see through it instantaneously. And you're using that dialectic to wonder about yourself as God. That's the high new way of being of man. Even Socrates and Jesus will be a follower of you. Hooray. Wow, epic stream today. Good stuff. Super banger. Good thing we've spent all this time reflecting, otherwise we wouldn't have had the conditions for this insight today. Hooray again.
Absolutely gooped.
We were gooped
The
in a
more
good way.
holes, the better.
Because these kinds of holes are the better. Thank you for joining me. You can follow along in Discord, get a notification when we go live. You can like and follow on YouTube. You can follow on Twitch if you like as well. And if you want to donate to the channel, it is very much appreciated. And you can find it even a PDF that you can borrow of this text we're reading, or you could buy the book. Thanks once again, and I'll see you in the highest God one, pure, good one. Yeah, sort of. See you in the next one. Bye.